Hola amigas y bienvenidos de nuevos a mi canal. Today I want to talk to you guys about the grammar method and how you can use this method to simplify your language learning experience. So I put a poll up on my Instagram just to collect my friends and followers' opinions on this subject. And what I mostly discovered is that a lot of you guys are struggling to find the time to learn a new language. Most of you guys think it's super important to you to learn a new language, but you were having difficulty finding time in your schedule and finding a simple and easy way to put language learning into your routine. So I know that a lot of times language learning can be super overwhelming, and a lot of you are probably wondering how you can implement all these techniques that I've been teaching you without getting overwhelmed. So enter in here the grammar method, which is essentially the belief that you can't truly learn a language without learning the basic structure and grammar principles of that language first. This method is really great if immersion is just too time consuming and a little bit scary to you. And so in the spirit of simplicity, I've asked my friend Allie, a simple living expert, to talk to you guys about her morning routine and how she incorporates learning into each day.
Hi there, I'm Allie and I have a blog about simple living. This week I'm writing a blog about my morning routine, and I just wanted to talk about what I implement into that. And one of the biggest things that I implement into that is learning. I take about 20 minutes every morning just to work on learning something new, and right now I'm learning Spanish. It's so amazing to learn new things because it grows your own mind and it creates new opportunities. And I just think it's really important. And it's amazing how much of just a 20-minute increment of time can do every single morning. It really helps me grow just doing that little amount of time over time. And I think it's really awesome. Thanks, bye.
So like Allie said, learning a little bit every day doesn't have to be the super overwhelming and hard thing. You can actually learn a little bit over time, and long term that's actually going to benefit you a lot more than trying to overwhelm yourself with new language right from the get-go. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to give you some basic grammar principles that you can apply to the language that you want to learn. I would suggest that you probably write all this down and go later onto the internet or whatever language learning platform you're using and try to figure these out for yourself. Okay, so first up we have gender. So nouns traditionally have gender, which is just a way of classifying them into larger groups called declensions. The three genders that most modern languages use are masculine, feminine, and neuter. In Spanish, there's actually no neuter, so there's only masculine and feminine, and English actually doesn't really have gender. Okay, next up is number. Nouns in any language, just like in English, can be singular and plural. You can have boy and boys. Pretty easy, pretty simple. You can have one thing and a group of things. For case, nouns usually have 7 different cases. They are nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, vocative, and locative. These will tell you what part of speech the noun will be in the sentence that you're trying to translate or that you're trying to work on. I've listed all of these here for you, so please go ahead and pause the video if you want to go ahead and write down what each of those cases mean. Next up is tenses. So verbs are a little bit different. Verbs have tense, which is just a way of saying that they have time. So tense is just the time in which the verb is occurring. Most commonly used are past, present, and future tenses. So for past, I spoke. Present, I am speaking. Future, I will speak. There are other tenses. There's perfect, there's pluperfect, there's future perfect, there's a lot of other tenses. I suggest you start with the basic 3 and then you build onto that. Verbs have a voice, which is active or passive. Active voice, the subject is performing the action of the verb, but in the passive voice, the subject is receiving the action of the verb. Then there is mood. Verbs have 3 moods. Imperative, which is the commanding mood, indicative, which is statement, and then subjunctive, which is what could be, it's a hopeful mood. Conjugations are essentially the endings that determine what tense your verb will be in. Thankfully, linguists have put these endings into charts for us to just easily plug in the verb with the endings, and charts really make it easier to memorize and write out these endings. Declensions are to nouns what conjugations are to verbs. Declensions are the charts that have the endings that tell you what case your noun is going to be in. Though they are a little bit longer because there's more cases, like we talked about, there are 7 cases, they still are fairly easy to memorize because they follow pretty simple patterns in most languages. I will leave a link in the description to both a conjugation chart and a declension chart so you can just print them out, practice them in your morning routine or whenever you are going to implement your grammar method into your daily routine. Finally, once you understand each of these elements in your target language, it's time to start piecing them together to form sentences. You'll need to learn what sentence structure is in the language that you're trying to learn. For example, in English, we have noun, verb, and then other parts of speech, any phrases or anything like that. Adjectives always come before our subjects. However, in Spanish, the general layout is subject, verb, and then object, and then adjectives actually gonna go after the noun. Practice each of these a little bit every day, and then you can begin to add them together and start translating sentences. I've said this before, but writing in your target language is really, really crucial to understanding the language. Really just seeing the words in their grammar like applied on the page, writing it out, physically feeling that with your hand, but also seeing it with your eyes, even if it's wrong at first, is really, really important to practice. Remember, it's not wrong to ask for help, and it is okay to be wrong. When you're learning a new language, that is super, super hard. You're taking on a huge, huge task. So be okay with being wrong. Be sure to comment below what grammar method you think will be the hardest for you to learn and how you plan to work on it until you master it. As always, gracias por ver. Espero verte en el próximo video. Adiós.